Ever pondered the role of women in maritime history and how it's shaped by myths and legends? We begin our journey with the sirens of ancient maritime lore. These enchanting figures, often depicted as half woman, half bird, have long been a symbol of seduction and danger on the high seas. The sirens' enchanting song lured sailors to their doom, a tale that subtly reflects society's historical apprehension towards the allure and power of women. These myths, birthed in the cradle of antiquity, serve as a lens through which we can examine the gendered perceptions of the time. They encapsulate a time when women were seen as enchanting, yet dangerous, a paradox that has persisted through the ages. It's fascinating, isn't it? How these ancient narratives have been woven into the very fabric of maritime history, casting long shadows that still touch the present. As we unravel this thread, we find that these myths carry more than just tales of adventure and peril at sea. Sirens, throughout history, have been more than just mythical creatures. They've served as symbols echoing societal attitudes and prejudices, particularly those relating to gender. For centuries, sirens have been depicted as enchanting yet dangerous beings, often used to represent the allure of women, an allure seen as perilous and destructive. This is no random association. The siren myth is a manifestation of a deeper, ingrained bias, a reflection of how society views women and their roles. These creatures of the deep, with their hypnotic songs and fatal charm, embody the age-old stereotype of women as seductresses, as beings who lead men astray. They are a symbol of fear, of the unfamiliar, and of the misunderstood power of femininity. This has contributed to a pervasive gender bias, painting women as dangerous and deceitful. It's not difficult to see how this bias seeps into various aspects of life, including the maritime world. The sea, traditionally a male-dominated space, has been shaped by these myths and biases. Women at sea are often viewed through the lens of these stereotypes, faced with prejudice and discrimination. The siren myth, therefore, is more than just a tale of mythical creatures. It's a narrative about society's perception of women, a narrative that has been used to justify bias and discrimination. These myths, deeply ingrained in our culture, have had far-reaching effects, especially on women at sea. How have these myths influenced the perception of women in maritime professions? This question leads us into the heart of our discussion. The maritime world, steeped in tradition and lore, has not always been welcoming to women. Siren myths, with their underlying tones of danger and deceit, have cast a long shadow over the perception of women in maritime professions. These mythical beliefs have manifested in a myriad of challenges for women at sea. From the days of tall ships to the modern container vessels, women have faced discrimination and doubt. They have been seen as bad luck, distractions, or simply unfit for the harsh realities of life at sea. This has led to a lack of representation, with women making up only 2% of the global maritime workforce. And yet, women have consistently proven these misconceptions wrong. They have shown resilience in the face of adversity, skill in the most demanding situations, and leadership that rivals their male counterparts. They have navigated stormy seas, commanded fleets, and even pioneered new paths in maritime research and technology. These achievements, however, have often been overlooked, their stories lost in the whirlpool of maritime lore. The focus has remained on the mythical sirens, rather than the real women who have made waves in the maritime world. The sea, however, is not just a place of myths and superstition. It's a place of opportunities, challenges, and untold stories. And it's high time we started telling these stories, honoring the women who dared to defy the tide and make their mark on maritime history. As time sails on, so do the stories we tell. Maritime myths, like the sea itself, are ever-changing, reflecting the currents of societal attitudes and perceptions. The evolution of these legends, particularly those surrounding women, paints a fascinating picture of our collective consciousness. Once upon a time, women were depicted as dangerous sirens, their enchanting voices luring unsuspecting sailors to their doom. These myths served as cautionary tales, warning of the apparent dangers that women posed. The siren song was a metaphor for the perceived seductive yet destructive nature of women, an echo of the societal prejudices of the time. But as society evolved, so did these tales. The image of the deadly siren began to fade, giving way to portrayals of women as resilient adventurers and capable seafarers. Women began to step out of the shadows of mythology and into the light of reality, leaving their mark on maritime history. From Jean Barret, the first woman to circumnavigate the globe, to Ellen MacArthur, who broke records with her solo sailing exploits, women have proven themselves time and again, challenging and changing the narrative. They are no longer the sirens of lore, but the captains of their own destiny, steering their ships through the vast open sea. As these stories of women's achievements began to circulate, the image of the woman at sea started to shift. The siren song was drowned out by the call of the sea, answered by women who dared to brave the waves. The myths of yore were replaced by real-life tales of courage and determination, reshaping our perceptions of women in maritime professions. Yet, it's important to remember that this evolution is ongoing. Despite the progress made, remnants of the old myths still linger, influencing our perceptions and attitudes. Women in maritime professions continue to face challenges, navigating not just the sea, but the lingering stereotypes and prejudices. But even as our stories change, some traditions persist. It's a reminder that while we've come a long way, there's still a voyage ahead of us. A voyage towards a more inclusive and equal maritime world. In the face of age-old traditions, change can be a daunting journey. Yet the maritime industry is setting sail on a new course, challenging and reshaping deep-seated narratives of gender and power. The sea, once a dominion of sirens and superstition, is witnessing a wave of movements that advocate for gender equality and the empowerment of women. The fight against maritime misogyny is not a solitary battle. It's a collective effort, a rallying cry from all corners of the globe that echoes across the open waters. Organizations and initiatives are emerging, dedicated to breaking down the barriers that have long hindered women's participation in the maritime industry. From the stern to the bow, from the engine room to the captain's chair, women are breaking the surface and diving into roles traditionally held by men. They're not just challenging the status quo, they're rewriting it, navigating their own routes and charting their own courses. Professional networks for women in the maritime industry are flourishing, providing a platform for mentorship, support, and advocacy. These networks are more than just a beacon of hope. They're a lighthouse guiding the way toward progress and change. In the realm of policy, strides are being made to ensure equal opportunity and representation. Laws and regulations are being reassessed and rewritten, with a lens focused on gender equality. The maritime industry is slowly but surely beginning to reflect the diverse world it serves. Education is another catalyst for change. By equipping the next generation of seafarers with the knowledge that the sea knows no gender, we're setting the stage for a maritime culture that values and respects all of its members. Yet, this voyage is far from over. The winds of change may be favorable, but the currents of tradition run deep. It requires determination, resilience, and a collective will to transform the narrative. The road to equality is long and winding, but the horizon is in sight. The tide is turning, and with it, the narrative of women in maritime history. As we navigate towards a more inclusive future, education and awareness are our compass. In an industry steeped in tradition and lore, breaking down gender barriers can be a Herculean task, but with the right tools, we can create waves of change. Education and awareness are two such tools, and they are making significant strides in the maritime industry. Institutions around the globe are launching educational programs aimed at challenging the gender stereotypes that have long held sway in maritime professions. These initiatives are not just about teaching skills for the sea, but also about fostering a culture of respect and inclusivity, where everyone, regardless of their gender, can thrive. For instance, academies are offering scholarships and mentorship programs specifically for women, in an effort to encourage their participation in maritime careers. Furthermore, they are providing training and workshops to all students about the importance of gender equality and respect, to combat the biases that have been ingrained in the industry for centuries. In addition to education, awareness campaigns are also playing a vital role in reshaping the maritime culture. Through documentaries, social media, and even art, these campaigns are shedding light upon the gender biases and stereotyping that exist in the maritime world and are challenging them head-on. They are telling the stories of women who have defied stereotypes, excelled in their maritime careers, and are paving the way for future generations. These steps are not just about inclusion, but also about respect. By fostering a culture where everyone is valued and treated with dignity, we can create a maritime industry that is not only more diverse, but also more innovative, resilient, and sustainable. In the end, it's not just about changing the narrative of the siren myths and legends, it's about rewriting the story of the maritime industry itself. It's about creating a culture that acknowledges the contributions of all its members and celebrates their differences as strengths, not weaknesses. As we set sail towards this new horizon, we carry with us the lessons of our past and the hope of a more inclusive future.